Hi everybody, welcome back. Tony again with Shinsho Yoga. And this week I'd like to work on pyramid pose, or sometimes called intense side stretch, sometimes referred to as a runner stretch. The name in Sanskrit I'll put somewhere here because it is long and I can never get it right. So it'll be in the title card somewhere. But the pyramid pose, intense side stretch, runner stretch, is a hamstring-focused stretch. And if you watched my video on the knee joint and how the muscles of the legs work and how often the hamstring is the issue for knees, this stretch is going to be one of the key ones to help you to reopen that muscle. Again, with the combination of that video talking about knees, we have to understand about strengthening the muscle too, because the reason it gets tight is because of an imbalance in the muscles in the legs. But so besides strengthening, we do need to reopen. And this is probably one of the better versions to be able to work on to open hamstrings. Hamstrings are a common complaint amongst people, and men especially. Not saying women don't have the issue too, but there's very few guys that have ever come to my class that haven't gone, what do I do for tight hamstrings? Including myself to my own teacher, who I would ask him, what do I do for tight hamstrings? My hamstrings, as I've mentioned before, are a challenge for me. And this pose is a challenging pose. I would consider it to be an intermediate level pose, and I had spoken last week about different levels of poses. Intermediate level not meaning that you have to have so much experience in doing yoga to be able to do the posture, but more of having the body open to do it, and it's not a posture that you're going to launch into in the beginning of class. So in order to really get into the hamstring and open it up, you definitely want to be warm. This is not something you're going to start cold. It isn't. The reason it's called intense side stretch, it can be a very intense posture depending on how deep you go into it. And also, I have modifications to be able to use with this posture, because I can't do it where I just flop down into it. Some people I've seen in classes can get it right into this posture, no issue. Most of the time I have to use blocks in the posture, and if blocks aren't available, I have to modify the depth that I go into it, because it's just too much on the back of the legs. And understand, in yoga, we don't want to really make our postures that intense that we don't want to pull on the muscle ever. We want the posture to do the work. So you want to come into the posture with control. You want to come into the posture with precision. Again, that's the idea behind intermediate and advanced postures. Besides the body having to be warm and it's not something that you're going to launch into, there is a precision to the way we do the posture. Again, child's pose, not an overly precise posture, right? There's a lot of ways you can do it and it's okay. Side stretch, intense side stretch, pyramid pose, runner stretch, however you want to refer to it. You have to have precision doing this, because it's going to put a lot of stress on the back of the legs. And in order to not do damage and not pull the muscle, you have to do it properly. So we have modifications to use for it, and you have to be smart when you're doing this. Again, make sure you're warm, right, going into it. Don't launch yourself into this at the beginning of a practice. If you have a teacher that's launching you into this at the beginning of the practice, I would question what they're doing. And know your body. Know where you can and can't go. Only one time in this posture did I ever fully come into it without any props, and I was so excited. And I practiced one night, a Friday night practice with my teacher, and I was like, oh my God, I finally done it. My hamstrings are open. Sure enough, the next week I was right back to square one. That's the way it goes. You still work on them. You still work to open them. And again, you have to work on strengthening the muscles of the legs to help offset those issues you have in the hamstrings. Again, I recommend that video. I talked about balancing the knee joint and the muscles of it. So, enough talking. Let us get into the posture. And I'm going to bring my blocks out immediately to show you how we do this. So this is a standing pose, right? And often you'll transition from this posture from, say, warrior one, generally. At least that's how I have the majority of my students coming into this posture. So you want your hips to be about hip distance apart here. We don't want the legs in line, right? They're not like this. This back foot isn't turned like this. Just as you would in Warrior One, you want the hips square. But it is not as wide of a posture, right? Because we're not bending the front leg. We're taking a shortened posture. So whatever your Warrior One pose would be, about 2/3 less than that, right, is what you're going to come into. From here, you want the hips square, 2/3 less. I bring blocks along the side of my foot because I'm going to need it. The legs are straight. Again, we don't bend it. Everything is straight. Front and back. Legs straight. Hips are forward, right? From here, we bend from the hip crease, right? Keeping all of this straight, leading with the heart. You should start to feel that along the back of the leg. When you hit resistance, you bring your hands down to where they work. Now, for me, that means blocks. This is the best I can do in this posture, and I'm feeling it right now. Some people may be able to come all the way down without blocks. If you're doing this, right, just bend, no good. You have to be able to come all the way down with the legs straight. Both legs have to be straight. When you come into this posture, you just don't go like this into it. You keep the hips forward. You hinge from the hip. Lead with the heart. Hands come down. And from here, don't roll into it. Try to keep the eyes lifted. Keep the legs straight. Keep the heart moving forward. You can close the eyes and breathe. Now, if you don't have blocks in your practice, your hands can come to your shin, like this. Don't put them on the knee, right? If you have to, you can come taller. If this is the best you can do for today, that's fine. Wherever you are for that day is where you are. Here, but keep the legs straight. So if your studio or your practice at home, you don't currently have blocks, you bring the hands here. Again, avoid curling into it. Don't bend the knees. The legs remain straight. The heart moves forward. The eyes are lifted. Breathe. And when you come out of this posture, the hands, you can just come to the hips and rise back up. Don't shoot back up. Don't, when you come out of it, don't. Move with precision. Move with care. That is the idea behind an advanced posture. So again, legs, about 2/3 of a stance of Warrior One. Hips are square, so the feet are somewhat in line, hip or shoulder width apart. Hips square, forward. Both legs straight, not bent. Hands to the hips. Hinge from the hip. Move the heart forward. When you hit the resistance, hands come down. If you can come all the way to the floor without blocks, that's fine. If you need blocks, make sure you have them. If you don't have blocks, hands to the shin, right? Or to the thigh, but not on the knee. Breathe. Coming out, reverse. Hands to the hips. Rise up. From here, you can shake it out, whatever need be, to get that going. So, pyramid pose, intense side stretch, runner stretch. Gets into the back of the leg and the hip primarily. You're going to go from heel up the calf here, through the hamstring, up into the hip. You'll also feel it in the IT band, right? And of course you want to balance one side to the other. Just don't do the one side. Make sure you do both, or you're going to walk in circles when you leave. But let the pose do the work, right? If you need to, have your blocks ready. Keep the legs straight. If you don't have blocks, you can bring the hands to the shins. Make sure you're warm. This shouldn't be something that you're doing right in the beginning of class. And move with precision. Again, advanced postures have to do with the precision that the posture needs to be done in, to be done properly, And additionally, that our body is warm and it's something done later on in the practice, not as an opening posture. Those are those intermediate to advanced postures. Not necessarily how long you've been in yoga, right, or how good you are in it, because you always modify for your body as need be. It's how precise we're doing it, moving with purpose when we do it, doing it properly, and not just kind of slopping into it. Very important for the advancement of your practice and your health. In the end, you breathe, follow the breath. As the thoughts arise, acknowledge them, allow them to pass by, return to the breath. Any questions or comments, feel free to leave them below. Happy to answer. Thanks again for watching. Namaste.